Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know what today is? Monday morning chats with Sack, and Sack is me. I hope that you guys had a great weekend. My weekend was pretty good. I got a chance to relax. I had some of the best sleep ever. Um, of course, buy some stuff for my home as I usually do. And I watched a football game, the Super Bowl. So that was always fun. I don't miss the Super Bowl. So it was a great time. But the good thing is, I actually got on the scale this weekend. I didn't get on the scale in a while. I think the last time I got on the scale was, I want to say December when I got my COVID test. And COVID test after that, I never got, weighed. But I lost over 11 pounds. So I've been eating healthy. I cut out chicken from my diet so far. I think I'll have chicken on special occasions. Yes, I will miss Chick-fil-A, but I'm just trying to eat healthy. So to start my morning off, I had some grapes and strawberries. And today is Meatless Monday, so I'm not eating any meat at all. So for dinner, I need to figure out what I'm going to have. I'm just not sure. Of course, it's going to be no meat, but probably a veggie dish. That's what I'm going to do. But yeah, I hope that you guys had a great weekend, and I just hope and pray that this week is just even better than last week. If last week was heavy, I just pray that you just put that down and just focus on the good things that's going to happen today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that's my prayer for you guys. And so for today, what made me have this discussion about life? Like, if I had to title this, is that life really happens. And I was talking to my line sister on Thursday. I was making dinner and I got a call from her. And we rarely talk. And when I talked to her, she was like, "Yes, Sakina, how's everything going?" I'm like, "Everything is going well." And, she was talking to me we were talking about college. We both attended Bloomsburg University in Bloomsburg, PA. So if you guys are not familiar with Bloomsburg, for those that are not from Pennsylvania, Bloomsburg is in Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania to be exact. It's about 45 minutes away from Williamsport. It's not too far from Penn State main campus, about an hour and 15 minutes away. We're near the Poconos area, so if you're familiar with the Poconos area in Pennsylvania, we're not that far from there. And so we were just talking. We were talking about school, and then boom, we just started talking about life. Wow, life happens. So it's we met each other when we were in college. She came in a year after me. And so when I met her, I was probably around 20 years old or so. 20 years old. Yeah, I was 20 years old. She was 19, 18. And we just looked back over life and it was wow, life happens. So I don't know what sparked the conversation. I just said how's life? How's everything? And we just started talking, and the conversation was so good. We didn't realize that we were on the phone for an hour and 41 minutes. I looked at my phone. I was like, "Wow, I'm on the phone for this long." Okay, and so there's a quote that I read this morning, and it said, "Never regret a day in your life. Good days give you happy day. Good days bring you happy memories, and then bad days give you experience." And that really touched on me. And so when we were talking, we just started talking about the things we really went through in life, some of the things that just kind of stood out. And when we were talking, I was just wow, I didn't realize, and I didn't even know that you were going through all these things. It was just so many things that she went through, and I just never knew. And I'm the type of person where I don't like asking a lot of questions. I'd rather wait until you tell me you feel comfortable. And she's just started opening up and just started telling me stuff. And I was like, wow. And the first thing I asked her was, after she told me all these things, I said, "Did you go to therapy for that?" And she said, "Girl, I had to." And so the question I want you guys to think about is, was there something traumatic that happened in your life where you realized I had to go to therapy? And maybe you didn't go to therapy at that time, but you eventually went to therapy later on. And I was like, wow. She was like, "Therapy helped me, Sakina." She was like, "I really needed to go to therapy. I could not be the person I am today if I didn't go to therapy." And it really just sat with me. And I was like, And I just started thinking about, I always talk about, as a testimony about my experience having a pulmonary embolism. So I had that in 2016. So that's going on 5 years. And For those that don't know, a pulmonary embolism, it is a blood clot that travels to your lung. If it is not treated, it is deadly and you can die from it. And so pretty much if it's not treated, the actual blood clot in itself, it travels to your heart. And you could pretty much have a heart attack and die. And that's how some people will die from it if it's not treated. And I thought about that year 2016. I know last year I did a Monday morning chats with SAC, and I talked about, what was your come up year? And I talked about the year where it was like not so good. In 2016, now that I look back at it and I have like a different set of eyes on it, I realized like, wow, it was very traumatizing for me because it was just like so many things just like happening back to back. And it's like, how do you process all those things? And when you're going through something, excuse me, I had something in my eye. But when you're going through things, sometimes you don't know when it will ever be over, right? And then you'll hear people say, oh, it'll get better. Or, you hear the old folks say, oh, baby, you'll be okay. And then when people say that to you, you're like, okay, well, if it's going to be okay, like, what does that actually mean? What does being okay look like? And for me, I'm a descriptive person. So if you say something, I need to know what it looks like. Like, you just can't say something. I just need to know. I need to see the picture of it. That's just me. I need to see a picture. And so, and I would hear things like, oh, it's going to be okay. I'm like, well, how do I know this? Like, how do I get over this? In 2016, it was just like so many things that just happened like back to back. And I didn't realize that it was a lot for me. And at that time, if I had a chance to go back, I would have went to therapy after the first traumatic event that happened. Because what happened was in 2016, I lost my cousin in 2016. She was 21 in February. And it was crazy because 2016 was in the beginning, it was a good year. Like, I was just high on life. Like, everything for me was good. And that's the one thing me and my sorority sister talked about, my line sister. We was like, in life, you could be on this high roller coaster. Like, everything is just going well in your life. Like, everything is just, like, nothing else can beat it. Like, everything, like, I was on a high roller coaster. Like, everything was great. And then everything just started just being gone. Like, everything just crashed before my eyes. And it was like the beginning of 2016, I got a new job. I made the decision that, hey, if I want a job, I want to make sure that I have a work-life balance. Working those 15 hours, 16 hours, that was very draining for me. And I was like, if I really want a life, and if there's things that I really want in my life, I can't have this type of life. Like, I just can't. And so I left a good paying job, and I had an even better paying job, but there was consequences. There was some things I had to deal with. Had to deal with a boss that was just really nasty, and I didn't realize that until I got in the job. But I had a work-life balance. I was able to leave at a decent time. After work, I was able to go to happy hours, meet up with my friends. Like, life was good. And then February, the first death, boom, my cousin at 21, she died of a heart attack. And then I'm like, okay, trying to process that. And then beginning of July, the week after 4th of July in 2016, my mentor, my boss, died. Had cancer, died. A week later, my stepbrother died from a drug overdose. A week after that, I got laid off. And then after that, 2 weeks later, found out I had a pulmonary embolism. And it was just like all these things. And there was some other medical issues too that was going on. And it was just like all these things that were just happening. And I was like, wow, like, this is just too much. And sometimes I would just find myself just sitting still in my apartment and just asking God, like, would it ever get better? Like, would it ever get better? Will I still endure this pain because I don't know why? And then after that, after the pulmonary embolism, I came back home realizing that I was still unemployed, and I was still recovering from this, taking blood thinners. Couldn't really do much. Couldn't really walk as much. And if you know me, I love to walk. Couldn't really walk as much. And I was just sitting there like, wow, like, will this ever really get better? And then that was August. September, I had a cousin that died from a heart attack. And then a week after that, my uncle passed away. We went to his funeral in Georgia. So it was like two deaths happening back to back. Then after I left the funeral, found out that my cousin died in a car accident. So imagine going to two funerals in the same week. And I was like, wow, this is so much. And then the second funeral that I went to, that was my cousin that died in a motorcycle accident. I got a call back from a job saying that I got hired and I work for the city of Baltimore. And I was like, okay, things are looking a little better. And then, right before my 30th birthday, I dealt with someone that was like a stalker. And it was just like really, 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 really toxic. And I remember like the words being exchanged, and I didn't know what to say. I just let a family member handle it. I didn't know what to say. And it was just like all these things happening and trying to figure out, how do you process this? At this time in October, I just started a new job. I pretty much depleted most of my savings because I was laid off for almost 4 months. And it was like, does things ever really get better? And I would just sit there and just think like, I'm not even sure. And then, I realized like, hey, I just really had to trust God. And I wish that I went to therapy at that time instead of later. And it made me realize that, therapy is really important. It makes you talk about things that you probably, I'm not going to say afraid of, but you don't know who to trust to talk about different things. And it makes you open up, depending on who you have as a therapist. It makes you open up. And so if you're going through things, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here to tell you that it gets better. And sometimes when you're sitting in that situation, it may not seem that way. You may say like, wow, I don't know. Like, the pandemic has shed light on a lot of mental health issues, like a lot. And maybe the beginning of the pandemic last year made you realize, hey, I need to go to therapy, and that's absolutely okay. But I realized that, yeah, therapy is dope. And it's so funny because I was going through all that stuff, and then how I realized the more importance of therapy is that 2017, God has blessed me with so many mental health therapists as clients. And it's crazy because during tax season, they're the main ones that'll say, hey, Sakina, are you taking a break? I'm not so concerned about my tax return being done so quick and fast, as long as it's done on time. But I just want to make sure that you're okay. I want to make sure that you're fine. And so my question to you, has there ever been a time when you were not fine? Has there ever been a time when you were just not okay? And what do you do about those things? How do you handle it? Who do you talk to? At some point in your life, you'll realize like, hey, I can have all of the ladies' nights in the world, or if you're a man, if you have like bro night, the man's night, I don't know what you guys call it. But after a while, you may realize that, hey, I need more than just this, and if you go to church and if you pray, you could pray all you want, which is great, but sometimes you realize that, hey, you just may need more. So I want you to think about the time when you realize, hey, this hurt. Like, this really hurt. And I never, like, really talked about it. When would I have courage to talk about something? The one thing that I've learned is this quote where anything that you're not, if you don't heal from something, you either heal from it or you suppress it. But if you suppress it, it'll come out eventually. Like, it'll come out somewhere. Whether it's at a job or whether it's friendships or whatever it may be. So if it's something that you don't heal from, you can suppress it. But if you suppress it, you don't think about it. But sometimes it could be a triggering event that says, hey, come out. It's time to play. And so my question to you is, are there things that you're still healing, or are there things that you're still suppressing? And if you are suppressing it, when would you talk about it? It's so funny because I read this book, and it's called Healing Heterosexual Relationships. And it's a self-help therapy book. It's a really good book. And it's by Dr. Richard Colin. And it's Healing Heterosexual Relationships Through Time, Touch, Talk, and Feel. And when I say this is a really good book, the one thing that it talks about in the book is, if you want to have good relationships, especially like whether you're, I mean, I think it applies to same sex relationships too. But if you want to have a good relationship, you got to know where you come from. And so it talks about like, hey, the guy talked about his experience as a child. And the one thing the book talks about is, as adults, we have, if we didn't heal it in our childhood, it'll affect us in our adulthood. And it started talking about like, childhood trauma, like what are things that you went through. And I like taking different type of tests. Like there's a attachment test, there's a love language test. The attachment test is real, I think it's really important. It talks about like your love. Are you anxious? Are you is there abandonment? Are you secure? And there's one more thing for the attachment test. But this book really talks about like, in order for you to really understand you as an adult, how are you as a child? And so there was questions in the book that made me ask my parents, and it made me very curious, and I wanted to know. And I think the one thing about me is therapy helps. Thank God for therapy. Two, doing my actual family tree and doing my family reunions, I got a chance to learn a lot about my family dynamics, to pretty much understand where I come from and actually become aware of issues that shapes my family. And I looked at John Howard Wesley. He's a pastor, well, Dr. Howard John Wesley. He's the pastor of Alfred Street Baptist Church in Alexandria, Virginia. And he's doing this series called All in the Family. So yesterday I looked at his sermon, and it's called We Are Not the Huxtables. And it's a really good sermon. And he breaks down and says, the Huxtables, it's like this perfect picture of a family. You have a doctor, you have a lawyer, you have 5 children in the house. Like, everybody's successful. And that's the picture of a good black family. And, in today's world, we don't have a lot of black sitcoms that talk about good black families. Like, that was the highlight of it. And he broke it down, and he was like, it's okay if we're not like that. Our issues define who we are. And you have to come to the point in your life where you realize, hey, this doesn't sit well with me. You either break the general curse or you continue it. And so it all comes from, the different things that you're experiencing. Are you healing from it, or are you suppressing from it? What are you doing? And if you're going through something, that's absolutely okay. And so it made me think about all these things. And I'm like, wow, like, I've really been through some stuff. Like, this is crazy. But it's life. And life can shape you, who you are. And at the end of our conversation with my sorority sister, the thing that we said to each other was that, in life, when you go through different things, it can either make you better or it can make you bitter. And the one thing that we agreed on, it's so easy to be bitter. Like, it's so easy to just say F this or whatever. But we said, our experiences, even though they were bad, they were not so pleasant in that moment. But honestly, we couldn't see the beauty of it because we were in it. But after we got out of it, we realized like there were so many things that we learned from it. And we realized, hey, it didn't make us bitter. It actually made us better. Who wants to be bitter? And so I pray that if there's something that you're going through, the question is, hey, are you going to talk to somebody? And if you do, that's okay. But don't suppress it. It's okay to like wait on it and try to figure out what you should do. But don't wait on it for so long. I would tell you that it will get better. Things get better. And sometimes you may not see that because you're actually going through it. But I'm here to tell you, like, it gets better. And I could think about all type of times. And I realized, like, hey, now I look back at it, I'm like, life did really get better. I just wish I believed myself a little bit more. And so I'm telling you, it will get better. Trust that it will get better. You're going through something right now. Maybe it's for a reason. Maybe you are trying to be taught something. I don't know. But life happens to us all. And the bad experiences, the bad days give us, experiences. And that's how you learn. Life is the greatest teacher. That's what one of my mentors used to always say. Life is the greatest teacher. There's nothing that you can prepare for. All you can do is just show up and be the best that you can. You don't know what life is going to throw at you. You don't know who's going to die today. You don't know who's going to die tomorrow. You don't know if you're going to lose your job today. You don't know if you're going to lose your job tomorrow. You don't know what can happen today or tomorrow. But what you can do is control how you feel, and you could just show up to be the very best. So I pray that you show up to be the very best that you can every day. And every day may not look like the same. The way you show up today will be different than Tuesday. The way you show up for Tuesday will be different than Wednesday. But I just pray that you do the best that you can. And if you can't show up for yourself, don't show up for nobody else. But continue to be the best version of yourself. And that takes work. We are all a work in progress. I damn sure know that I am. So that is my prayer for you. Hey, if you're going through something, it will get better. I pray that you have an amazing Monday. I pray that your Tuesday is phenomenal. I pray that your Wednesday is spectacular. I pray that your Thursday is awesome. I pray that your Friday is extraordinary. I pray that your weekends is lit. And I just pray that you just never forget how amazing you really are. And I know I say this all the time, but I think sometimes we miss that. You are amazing. You know what I did this weekend? I have affirmations in my bedroom. So when I wake up, I see it. But I also printed out affirmations. I put that in my bathroom, right on my mirror. So every time I go into the bathroom, I'm able to see that. I'm able to read it. And whoever comes in my house, they're able to see it. And so whether they're in my guest bathroom, they're able to see some type of positive thing. So feed your soul with something positive today. Be gentle with yourself today. You deserve it. Happy Monday, guys, and take care.